Lew Dub here. The Melbourne Cup is on the horizon and I'm back with another Melbourne Cup order of entry prediction. Last year I picked an astonishing 47 out of 50 of the top 50 horses in the order of entry. I also snared 9 out of the top 10. I will say that my accuracy in terms of what specific position in the order of entry a horse will be is not pinpoint. I only got 5 in their exact position, so that's something I aim to improve on this year. You've seen the contents, we'll get on with the order of entry predictions soon, but let's explain the Melbourne Cup order of entry itself. So the order of entry is simply a list of names of all the runners interested or nominated for the Melbourne Cup. The list is numbered from 1 to 180, 150. This year it's just 132. It's based on how many horses nominate for the race. This year we did actually get 2 late nominations. Now, as the actual Melbourne Cup race on the first Tuesday in November is restricted to 24 horses, many horses miss out. So the list, which is dynamic, it changes, kind of like the positions change on the ladder of your favourite football competition. Now, by winning certain specified races, horses can climb the order of entry ladder. You'll see a bunch of those penalty races later on. But basically, to make the actual 24 horse field, you have to be inside the top 24 on the last Saturday before the Melbourne Cup. Okay, the order of entry prediction. At the top of the list, I've got 3 horses that have won the golden ticket races. I'll give a clear explanation, full list of them later. It's Absurd winning the Ebor Handicap, Lunar Flare the Andrew Ramsden, and Goldman winning the Roy Higgins back in March. I've got Gold Trip at number 4. He should get the top weight of at least 58 kilograms. Broome next, Aidan O'Brien's horse. Since his win in the Dubai Gold Cup earlier this year, his results have been disappointing, but against quality opposition. I'll give a mention to Arapaho, maybe high in the order for some, but he won the Tancred Stakes, our only Group 1 weight for age mile-and-a-half race. Duis and Montefilia, I'll be surprised if they actually run in the Cup. And there's Vauban, I have him at number 9. I anticipate a weight of 55.5 or 56. Whatever the weight, he will make the 24 horse field without having to race in Australia prior, in my opinion. Breakup is the one Japanese trained horse that's been nominated. He may get ranked higher in the order of entry than I've predicted. Don't forget the official order of entry is published on September 19th. I'm predicting high positions for Northern Hemisphere 3-year-olds Desert Hero and Tower of London. I have Major Beale and Manzoice, the ATC and VRC Derby winners, in lofty positions, as it has been the pattern over the years that I've been paying close attention to the order of entry. Francesco Guardi, at this point I believe he will make the Melbourne Cup field without having to win another race. Scrolling down now to Soulcombe, I've got him on number 26. I haven't seen an update to his official rating since his eye-catching win in the Heatherly, but I anticipate some upward movement there. As we get further into the list, some of you may be surprised by the position of a horse like High Emotion, who finished 3rd in last year's Cup, and Emissary, who I ranked at 30th in the order of entry. But apart from their performances in the Melbourne Cup last year, there hasn't been enough evidence of quality to warrant being higher in the order of entry. Harbour Wind, the Dermot Weld trained 3-year-old, is at 42 in my predicted order of entry. Going by history, that is actually generous. He's qualified for the race by winning the listed Vinnie Rose Stakes. Last year, Point King qualified for the race by winning the very same Vinnie Rose Stakes. He was ranked 52 in the order of entry. And now getting closer to 50, I have 2 more Derby runners from last season in Suazero and Fame. To finish off, I'll just list a few of the horses that haven't qualified. That is, they haven't recorded a relevant race performance and passed the quality control check. There's a full explanation of that coming up soon. But here I've got Zarek, Ashrun and the big one, Floating Artist, who would only need to finish in the first 3 in a Group 3 race like the Geelong Cup or Moonee Valley Gold Cup, and they would probably be elevated into the top 24. Now let's move on to one of the complexities of the Melbourne Cup order of entry, qualifying or passing the ballot. So the term qualifying can be a little misleading, as it doesn't mean you have been accepted in the 24 horse field. It's more referring to the horse passing a quality control test. Racing Victoria requires that any horse contesting the Melbourne Cup has exhibited evidence in its relatively recent past of good form. All of us want to see the best horses running in the race, right? Now on screen I've got a big list called relevant race performances, and basically the qualification rule requires that any horse wanting to compete in the 24 horse field has recorded at least one of those relevant race performances listed on screen. And you can see that all of the relevant race performances have a time frame. Closing off this topic, I'll give an example of a horse who had a relatively high official rating but was outside the 24 horse field due to the lack of a relevant race performance, i.e. he hadn't qualified. Last year, 2022, Vauban was in that position. He had an official rating that would have had him in the top 24, but he hadn't done enough in recent history to pass that quality control measure. Luckily for him, he ran 6th in the Caulfield Cup and was considered worthy of running in the Melbourne Cup. The same relevant race performance is present this year. You can see on screen at relevant race performance E, if you've finished 6th, 7th or 8th in the 2023 Caulfield Cup, you have qualified. Remember, that's not qualified for the 24 horse field, but qualified for the quality control measure.
Thomas Mayo.
Thomas Mayo. Written a handbook called the Voice to Parliament Handbook. All the detail you need.
Thomas Mayo is a signatory to the Uluru Statement from the Heart, but was also entrusted with the physical document.
Mayo is part of the referendum working group.
He spent 18 months travelling around Australia to garner support for an Indigenous voice to Parliament.
And I tell you what, we are sick of governments not listening to our voice. We are going to use the rule book of the nation to force them.
There is nothing more powerful than building a First Nations voice, a black institution, a black political force to be reckoned with.
Keep going until we change the system, until we tear down the institutions that harm our people.
And also to pay respects to the elders of the Communist Party, who I think, without a doubt, have played a very important role in our activism.
You know, this is the first step. It's a vital step. Pay the rent, for example. You know, how do we do that in a way that is transparent and that it actually sees reparations and compensation to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people?
The power in the voice is that it creates the ability for First Nations to go forth with coherent positions on what legislation needs to be created, what legislation needs to be amended, and punish politicians that ignore our advice.
Here is the growing list of win and you're in races, also referred to as golden ticket races, or in official documents, ballot exemption races. We now have 7. It's almost laughable. But I must say, we don't usually get the Cox Plate winner taking the option to run in the Melbourne Cup. There's also a requirement that your horse must already be nominated for the Melbourne Cup in order to take advantage of the golden ticket. An example of that this year would be if a horse like Fangirl or Mr. Brightside wins the Cox Plate. They're not nominated for the Melbourne Cup, so that golden ticket gets wasted. And here are the important races the Melbourne Cup nominated horses can use to climb up the order of entry. On screen is the word-for-word guidelines. Yes, you can actually move up the order of entry by winning a listed 1600 metre race. Now, to the races themselves. Don't forget, though, that the Newcastle Cup is on Friday, the 15th of September, and though the order of entry and weights are not released, it's a handy race for a horse to win. They can improve their official rating, and that is very important when it comes to the order of entry. So the Colin Stephen is one of a few races in Sydney that contenders can use to climb the order of entry. The others are the G1 Epsom and the G1 Metropolitan. On the 3rd of October is the first declaration payment. As I said last year, you tend to get a lot of withdrawals around declaration payment day for obvious reasons. The races highlighted in green are the win and you're in races. The first of them is the Bart Cummings. Deeper into October, there's the Coonji Cup, a midweek race, then another win and you're in race, the Caulfield Cup. The Geelong Cup and the Moonee Valley Gold Cup, they're famous lead-up races for the Melbourne Cup. The Moonee Valley Gold Cup is actually on Friday night this year. Interesting. Another win and you're in race, the Cox Plate. I've put the Sale Cup in there. Highly unlikely that someone's running a Melbourne Cup horse in that race, but it's a listed handicap over 1600 or more. I will also note this is not an exhaustive list. There may also be some races in South Australia, Queensland or WA that meet the penalty race conditions. Maybe you can scour through those states and their racing schedules. Now, another declaration payment before the last of the win and you're in races, the Archer, formerly known as the Hotham Handicap, and more recently the Lexus. Don't miss the Bendigo Cup on the 1st of November. High Emotion snuck into the Melbourne Cup using that race last year. And by November the 4th, you'll get the Melbourne Cup field after the last race on Derby Day. Of course, all connections will have to pay that big $49,500 declaration fee as well. A quick look at the odds. Vauban is now $5 at the TAB, where someone is said to have plonked 4,000 or 5,000 on him yesterday. They've got Japan's Breakup, $11. Some value without a fight at $18. There's the late entry Rue Boissonade from France. That's $26, the 3-year-old filly. Harbour Wind is $26 for Dermot Weld. Down to Athabascan at $51. He showed signs of improvement in his last start win. Also at $51 is the other late entry Lastotchka, and I see Mr. Waterville also at $51. He wasn't bad in his last run either. Next we'll look at Ladbrokes. Vauban is a better price. Breakup, much better. They've got him at $15 while TAB has him $11. West Wind Blows and Tower of London, two from the Northern Hemisphere, are exactly the same at TAB and Ladbrokes. Ladbrokes offers absurd at $21. That's $6 better than the TAB. Ladbrokes have French 4-year-old Lastotchka at $31. That's much shorter than the TAB. I've seen Lastotchka. She's honest. Has she got the class? Emissary, last year's runner-up, is $51, and Mr. Waterville, the same as at the TAB. Though further down, Ladbrokes has Athabascan at $101. All right, hope you enjoyed. Check the odds and pick a winner.
Go to hell, New World Order. It's just a mask. It's just 6 feet. It's just non-essential businesses. It's just non-essential workers. It's just until we work it out. It's just a bar. It's just a restaurant. It's just nursing homes. It's just schools. It's just to keep from overwhelming medical services. It's just until the cases go down. It's just to flatten the curve. It's just to keep others feeling safe. It's just for a few more weeks. It's just gyms, salons, spas, and sporting events. It's just churches and mosques. It's just singing. It's just travel. It's just until we get a vaccine. It's just for the greater good. It's just fact-checking, not censorship. It's just mandatory. It isn't just at all. Visit defendjones.com to help fight back today.